Good morning. Welcome to the April 25th, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda today, there are speaker request forms along the left wall. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the staff. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. The public hearing on item number 1, the approval of the April 4th, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes is hereby opened. All right, Mike Gallagher made the motion to approve the minutes, and Brooke seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Good morning. This item is a variance request to omit the parking and paving requirements and to reduce the landscaping requirements by 25,687 points. This is part of a proposed cell tower development at 3220 West Chicago Street. The property is zoned general commercial district. Future land use is mixed use commercial. The property is located north of West Chicago Street, which is classified as a principal arterial street on the city's major street plan. So this is just proposed elevations of the tower. The tower will be 195 feet tall, and there'll be an accessory equipment pad that's going to be south of the tower, and that'll be covered by a steel canopy. So this is just a visual or a plan of what that equipment pad will look like. So this is a survey of the property. The applicant's going to be leasing a 50 by 75 foot area in the northwest corner of the site. They're not proposing to do any additional paving or landscaping as part of this application. The applicant did note that they do not have landscaping rights outside of the lease boundary. And there was some concerns that the soils were not conducive for additional landscaping on this property. So this is just a site plan of the compound. One of the purposes of those landscaping requirements, and it's especially true for cell tower development, is that the landscaping will screen the ground equipment from the adjacent properties and from the street frontage. So in order to achieve that screening purpose, the applicant has agreed to install an opaque fence around the perimeter of the facility. That their original plans did show that as a chain link fence. So with the opaque fence screening, staff thought that that was justification to approve the landscaping variance. So the proposed development will be accessed by an access easement. There's about 90 feet directly west of the compound that'll be surfaced with gravel. So that access easement is shown in black there. The code does require continuous paved surface up into the compound. Staff is recommending that a dust palliative be approved by the city or approved by the engineering division be applied annually or as needed to mitigate dust, and that's really the purpose of hard surfacing and paving requirements, is to mitigate dust and tracking of dirt and dust into the public right of way. So that dust palliative, we believe, will achieve that measure. The traffic and parking needs for the tower will be minimal, as they do not have daily staff, and service technicians will be visiting the site about once a month for maintenance. So minimal traffic and parking needs for the site. So these are going to be photo simulations of the tower. So this first one is looking west. Second one is looking east. You can just see the tower just over top that canopy there. And then this is looking northeast. So this shows about the majority of the landscaping that's on this property currently. There's one tree, one shrub, and about 1,100 square yards of grass. And this is looking down the access easement into that future compound. This is looking east along West Chicago Street, and then looking west along that same street. So staff is recommending that the variance request to omit the parking and paving requirement and to reduce the landscaping requirement by 25,687 points be approved, subject to the stipulations outlined in the report, and I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I do have a speaker request form on this one. Oh, Vicky.
Mr. Chair, if it is the desire of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to grant these variances, it should be noted that the criteria of review that they're meeting is that there is a special circumstance in that this particular applicant only has control over the leased area. Secondly, we are meeting the objectives for the landscaping and the pavement by their concurrence to put the opaque screening fence, and then of course the dust palliative. That will give us our view shed that we're looking for and maintain that gravelled surface behind that same opaque. And I just wanted to point this out because typically we would not support especially the pavement and parking surface, but in this case where they're putting it behind an opaque fence, that does go to meeting the intent of the ordinance and mitigating any negative influence on the adjacent properties as a result of this project.
Thanks, Vicky. Mike Bienick, if you want to step up to address the commission. Please identify yourself once you're up and probably properly pronounce your name.
You actually did.
Oh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Bienick. I'm with a company called LCC Telecom Services. We represent Vertical Bridge and T-Mobile. I believe staff covered everything. I worked very closely with staff to get to get through the process because of the special circumstances on this property. So I believe they've covered everything. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. We'll call you up if any of the commissioners have anything.
Thank you.
Thanks. So, any comments from the commission? Questions on this one? Karen?
Actually, I was going to make a motion. I
All
don't
right.
see any issues with this. I'll make a motion to approve the variance for parking, paving, and the landscaping due to the fact that there's special circumstances. And if Vicky wants to add anything to that motion, okay, that's my motion.
I'll second.
All right. Karen made the motion as she stated. Vince seconded that motion.
Mr. Chair,
Vicky?
a friendly amendment to approve with the stipulations as noted.
Karen was in agreement as well as Vince. So yes. All right. Any discussion on the motion to approve with the stipulations? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We've got one vote no, but the motion still carries. Now, vote no was Eric Heikes, correct? Okay. All right, that's our only item, or the last item on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Looked for a motion to adjourn Zoning Board of Adjustment to move to Planning Commission. All right, Brooke made the motion.
Second.
And Vince seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, we'll now commence the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for April 25th, 2024. Again, if anybody wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda, please grab a speaker request form along the left wall, fill it out, and hand it to the staff located over there. And if you still have your cell phone not on silent, please do so now. Items 1 through 6 have been placed on the consent calendar today and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the City Council. The City Council will make the final decision with the exception of the following items. Item 5, 24UR003, and Item 6, 24PD008. The Rapid City Planning Commission's actions on these two items are final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by the close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items 1 through 6 that staff would like removed for separate consideration? Any items that the planning commissioners would like removed for separate consideration? And are there any items 1 through 6 that any audience member would like removed for separate consideration? All right, Chair would then entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 6 in accordance with staff's recommendation. All right, Eric Heikus made the motion, and Karen seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7.
So this item is a major amendment to a plan development overlay to allow a self-storage facility on 824 North Creek Drive. This property is over 20 acres in size, and this storage facility will be owned and operated by Menards. The property is zoned general commercial district with a plan development overlay. Future land use is mixed-use commercial and urban neighborhood. The property is accessed by North Creek Drive, which is classified as a collector street on the city's major street plan. So this is the proposed site plan. 14 buildings, 556 storage units are being proposed. The applicant is proposing to reduce 2 of the drive aisles down to 25 feet, and I'll show these here. So it's this one right here, and that drive aisle right here. So staff is recommending that this exception request be denied. It'll make loading and unloading more difficult, and we believe that there's sufficient room to move some of these buildings west to accommodate a larger drive aisle. This property is, like I mentioned, over 20 acres in size, and we think there's sufficient room. So these are the proposed elevations. The exterior will be finished with metal panels to match the rest of the Menards development. The facility will be fully secured by the sidewalls of the storage units themselves and by the fencing. The applicant is requesting an exception to allow an 8.5-foot fence in lieu of 8 feet. Staff is recommending that this exception be approved. That fence is for security purposes and is not out of character of this area with the retail store to the south. So that's just a visual of the front of the units. So this is the proposed landscaping plan. The applicant has requested an exception to omit the screening fence requirement along the east lot line. The code states that commercial districts abutting a residential district, they have to install a 5 to 6 foot fence along that lot line. They're also requesting an exception to allow a metal panel exterior in lieu of masonry, concrete, wood, or wood simulated siding for the storage units themselves. So staff is recommending approval of these exceptions, considering the units will be buffered to those adjacent residential by large trees. So those trees will be planted around the perimeter. And we are putting a stipulation that the landscaping plan be revised to also have a landscape buffer along North Creek Drive frontage. So that landscaping will screen the units from the residential and just from the adjacent properties. Public notice was posted on this property. This is looking north into the property. This is looking at the back of the property from North Valley Drive. This is looking north along Creek Drive, and then looking south along that same street. Staff is recommending that this item be approved subject to the stipulations outlined in the report, and I'll stand by for any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Vicki?
Tanner, could I have you go back to that last site plan?
Do you want this
There.
one?
Could you, can you draw on that, or could you use the cursor to show the boundary of the lot as a whole? There is an area to the west of the storage units that they're holding in reserve for future development. And that's great. General commercial, you can have more than one use, and we're hopeful that they can find another beneficial use to provide services to the community. In considering the access aisle width reduction from 30 feet to 25 feet, we visited amongst the reviewing agencies, and Chip may be able to add something to this too, but our minimum is 30 feet. We do not waver from that, because when you've got vehicles parked, backed into those storage lockers to unload goods or pick up goods, we still need to maintain that fire apparatus access. And so historically, that's one of the provisions that we've not supported nor a planning commission granted. In this case, they could expand the footprint of this project a little bit into that future node. Tanner, maybe you can show how they could bump that out a little bit, just a little bit more to the northwest, and they could meet that dimension of 30 feet instead of trying to reduce 2 of those lanes down to 25. Other than that, I think we are in line with what they're trying to do, finding some compromises and solutions to keep the costs down while still mitigating this from the neighboring properties.
Thanks, Vicki. I've got a speaker request on this from the agent, but Eric Hikas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious, the very same Vicki mentioned, the void in between this development and the current Menards, that white non-used space, that's for future development, is that correct?
Yeah, I'll pull up
Okay.
the site plan, which
Okay.
shows it a little better here. But yeah, it'll be
So
for future
it has
development.
kind of a campus, Menards campus feel, it looks like. The only real delineator that takes away from that campus feel is there really isn't a connection between the Menards and this storage area, other than going out to the street and coming back in, correct?
Mr. Chair?
Vicki?
That is correct. However, the customers at Menards probably won't be the same customers that are
Probably
going to be
not. Okay.
renting storage units.
That answers my question, thank you.
Chip?
Good morning. The fire department doesn't support this. There's no hardship, and we really need that 30 feet for the fire separation, radiant heat, because storage units, nobody has control of what they're putting in there. And there's a large fire load in these units, and we need access the 30 feet, and we don't sway from that. So the fire department will not support that. And also storage units, the fire can go for quite a while before anybody notices in this area. I mean, storage units, so once it's going, it's going. So we don't support this.
Thank you. Brooke?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question for staff. So typically you said that there needs to be a fence of some type between the storage units and the residential neighborhood, and they've asked for an exception on that. Is that because it's going to be heavily wooded, or did I miss something in that?
Well, part of the reason is there's a big elevation difference between the residential properties and between the storage units. And then, yeah, well, I can show this plan right here, or this picture right here. So that's where one of the residential properties would be, and that's going to be developed as townhomes. And then also is that that fence is meant to act as a buffer between that residential properties, and they're achieving that with the landscaping that's on the property. So that would be the reason they're asking for that exception.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Vicki?
In support of that exception, we are requiring that there be a solid planting of coniferous trees, so it's a year-round buffer. Deciduous trees don't provide much buffering during the winter months.
All right, Nick Brenner, if you'd like to address the commission. Once you're up, just identify yourself with your connection to the project.
Good morning, Nick Brenner with Menards, 5101 Menard Drive, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I don't have a whole lot to add to the use of the project. It seems like everyone has a pretty good understanding of it. The space between the store and the self-storage there, that is for future store expansion. It's a pretty busy store. We're always looking to improve that store and the service we provide to the community. So the last thing we want to do is develop something and lose that ability to be flexible and help give the store what they need. So that's what that void is, to answer your question. The 2 outlots would be sold off if they ever were to be developed to end users. And we do have a drive connecting the existing parking lot to the new drive that's proposed as well to help show you that circulation between all the properties. The one thing I do want to know too that it was mentioned, but I just want to highlight it, is the way Menards do these facilities is that we do run perimeter units along the entire outside, so that when you're looking from the outside, you can't see inside the facility, you can't see the overhead doors, you can't see people inside the facility, you can't see the lights. It acts as a fence in of itself. They're about 8 feet tall, and we're about 160 feet off the property with the pond and the elevation differences. So we have quite a bit of a buffer room in addition to all the plantings as well. I did want to come up and talk about the aisle widths. It sounds like it's a pretty strong rule from the city not to deviate from the 30. But I will mention that the 2 aisles that we do have, the 25 feet are 10 by 15 units. They're the smallest units we have. And the reason we go smaller is just because there's just not very big, there's not a lot of room, so there's not a lot of cars that are in there. I provided a parking study as well, saying at the peak hour, only 9 cars will be in this facility at one time. So there's just not a lot of traffic. The reason we go 25 feet is the standard rule we have for all of our facilities, and it's simply just because the aisles between those units don't have to be any bigger than that to perform efficiently. And instead of wasting ground, adding impervious area that isn't needing, increasing stormwater runoff, we do try to make sure that we're using the land for the best use. So that is why we go 25 feet. It's only 2 of the aisles. We did provide a truck turn for the fire truck that shows the truck's able to get around to all the buildings. But again, those are the facts that we just have. That's what I've presented to other communities that have similar rules. But I completely understand that if it's the city's rule that is 30 feet and there's no wiggle on that, then it is what it is. But I thought I would at least explain why we have 25 and why we asked for that. It wasn't just simply off the top of our heads. It is something that we have as a business framework worked with on probably 50 of these facilities now. So other than that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Nick. Any questions for him or other comments from the commission? All right, Eric Heiskes, sorry, lost you there.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tanner and planning staff, just to go back and clarify, this does have a planning overlay designation on top of for the entire lot, even though we've got a little bit of difference in the zoning of this lot and the one next to it, correct?
Yeah, there would be a plan development overlay on this lot. Yep.
That's okay. That helps me too. Thank you.
Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand the open lot to the southwest or of it. So that can actually add to the expansion of from 25 to 30 feet in those areas that the fire department has a concern about. Am I correct? Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else from the commission? Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make a motion to approve this major amendment with the stipulations as outlined and make sure that we include the fact that it needs to be 30-foot aisle width.
All right, Karen made the motion to approve with the listed stipulations, which do include denial of the exception request to 25-foot aisles. And Eric Heiskes seconded that motion. Vince, comments?
Yes, let me get a clarification. So it's approving it with the stipulation that they have to go with 30-foot aisles. Is that correct?
Yeah, 30-foot would be our city standard, and any exception is denied as stipulation number 1 in this. All right, any other comments on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8.
Good morning, Commission. Cassie Hayes. Item number 8 before you is a major amendment to a plan development overlay for a swimming pool. The property we're looking at is at 5102 Shelby Avenue. Property is currently zoned office commercial with a plan development overlay. Future land use is urban neighborhood. And this property takes access off of Shelby Lane, which is classified as a local street. Shelby takes access off of East Stoomer Road, which is classified as a collector street and a proposed collector street on the city's major street plan. What the applicant is proposing to do with this is they are proposing to add a swimming pool addition. Currently, they are in the process of building a 121-unit apartment complex on this property, which is mostly constructed at this point. So this would be a pool addition, which would be an amenity provided to the tenants of this apartment complex only. There is a stipulation in our code that requires a swimming pool and any areas that are used for the bathers, so that would include the pool deck, be 50 feet from any property line. That stipulation, that requirement in our code is in an effort to promote privacy and security of pool patrons, but also limit the impact that a pool would have on surrounding properties. They are requesting to reduce this 50-foot setback to a 24-foot setback. This proposed area for the pool was listed and indicated on the building permit that they submitted for the apartment complex. However, at the time, the apartment complex building permit did not include this pool addition, so unfortunately, we kind of missed that this was going to not meet the 50-foot setback requirement. So here is a site plan of the dark gray area is the existing apartment complex. This white area down here, if I can get the mouse to work, that right area down in the south, I guess, southeast corner, that would be where the proposed pool is going to be. So this pool is going to be an outdoor pool. It does measure 40 feet by 16 feet. The pool depth would slope from 3 feet 6 inches to 8 feet. There is a pool decking that does surround the entire pool area. They are also going to be installing a 6-foot tall black metal decorative fence all the way around the pool decking with 2 gates that will be installed for emergency exits. This is a look of what the proposed fencing would look like and also what those gates would look like. Access to this pool will be through the apartment building only using an electronic key fob. There will be no exterior entry permitted. These gates would be installed so as to prevent exterior entry. They would be, like I said, an emergency exit only. The pool storage room, you can see kind of highlighted in green there. That is where all the pool equipment would be stored. That is inside the apartment building, accessed from the outside, accessed from the pool deck, but that would be secured storage where all the pool equipment would be stored. This is looking at the apartment complex as it's being built right now. This is looking from Shelby Avenue, and you can see that public notice was posted for this. This is looking off of East Stoomer Road toward where this pool would be located. So East Stoomer Road does dead end right here currently. So this pool would be off that back area that you're looking directly at right now. This is looking down East Stoomer Road as it exists today. And this is looking east down Stoomer Road where it dead ends currently. So staff is recommending that this major amendment to the plan development overlay be approved with the stipulations noted in the staff report.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Vicki?
could I have you go back a few slides where it shows the layout with all the landscaping around the pool?
Yeah. Right there?
That's perfect. So in the very southeast corner, you can see where the pool and the pool decking is going to be. You'll note that they are putting in some great landscaping in that area as well. I wanted to add that Lloyd's has worked with the city on bringing this project forward, and there's a component within this that is providing affordable housing within this area of the community, which is such a needed housing element for the community. To have them then add a pool as an amenity in consideration of the number of units that will be affordable is really a plus. It really goes to quality of life to those that are going to be living in the unit. They did have another good graphic that showed that the pool itself is almost completely outside of that 50-foot setback. It really is primarily the decking that extends into the 50-foot encroachment. So with all of those components, we thought this would be a good compromise, and we're in support of reducing this setback.
Thanks. I just had one question. You mentioned East Doomer Road dead ending there. Am I right in saying that it looks like the future alignment, basically the right-of-way would be right up against this property line as it kind of heads to the northeast?
You are correct. There are some topographic constraints and drainage issues on property to the east that makes it a little difficult for the extension of the street without some big commitment on infrastructure. But in the future, we do anticipate Stoomer Road will be extended to the east, and in doing so, it will be along this lot line.
Thank you. Any other questions on this one? I'll jump in with one other one that, since nobody's chiming in. I noticed in this that there was a discussion that this was originally approved for 119 units and is being built as 121. 2 units is probably not going to change anybody's mind on this, but this is one of those, like, how does this happen? And, you know, what's the standard for if they said we want to build 20 more units or 100 more? Like, where is the line on reevaluating these?
So as a part of this major amendment, we wanted to make sure that we called that out. If they didn't need the major amendment and they were just coming in for a building permit and it showed that they were adding 2 more units, we would go to that 20% exception rule. But they would still need to provide the additional parking, the additional open space, etc. If they couldn't do those even for 1 more unit, then you would see that as a major amendment. In this case, though, they do have the additional allowances required for parking and open space to add the 2 units. But as a part of this major amendment to reduce the setback for the pool, you in essence are also approving 121 units.
That's no problem. I just wanted to see where the line was, basically. Anything else from the commission? All right, Mike Gallagher made the motion to approve item number 8 with stipulations.
Second.
And Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9.
Thank you. Item number 9 is a conditional use permit request to allow on-sale liquor in conjunction with a restaurant. This property is located at 514 St. Joseph Street. Property is currently zoned Central Business District. Future land use of the property is downtown. And access to this property is off of St. Joseph Street, which is a principal arterial street. So the applicant is proposing to serve beer and wine to accompany the cuisine that's going to be served at the restaurant, which will be Tandoor Bocado. This property has previously been occupied by other restaurants and commercial businesses, and it is located on the north side of St. Joseph Street. There are 2 suites currently within this building. As you can see up there on the screen, the applicant will be occupying the west side of the building, the west suite. They do plan to operate at least 5 days a week from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. The liquor or beer and wine will be served from the bar area with a staff member present at all times. And they do plan to have any additional alcohol be stored in a secure room separate from the dining area. So staff did look at the surrounding properties pertaining to if there is a school, park, or playground within a 500-foot radius. There is not any of those. However, there is a place used for religious worship directly adjacent to the north of this property. The on-sale liquor use will be conducted within the existing structure and in conjunction with the restaurant, so it would not appear that it would adversely affect that place of religious worship on the adjacent property. There are several bars, restaurants, and other establishments within the downtown district that do operate with an on-sale liquor use, and the Central Business District is considered to be the appropriate district for this type of request. Tandor Bocado currently operates as a food truck in the Rapid City area, so this restaurant is meant to serve the same or similar cuisine, just in a sit-down dining format separate from the food truck. The existing building, like I said, has previously been occupied by other restaurants. They are currently remodeling the interior of this building to accommodate the restaurant, and then also the other side, the other suite. They do have an approved building permit for that. They are proposing to install signage as well on the window and the door, somewhat similar to what you see up there on the screen. The applicant should be aware that this property is located within the downtown commercial historic district, so any exterior changes to the building that would require a building permit will also require a historic permit review, and any changes to any of the exterior signage would also require a historic sign permit review as well. However, staff has reviewed this with regard to the stipulations and regulations of the municipal code and also the comprehensive plan. Staff feels that this is in harmony with the district and the comprehensive plan and the code, so staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit to allow on-sale liquor in conjunction with the restaurant with the stipulations noted.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff on this item? Comments? Vince?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I don't have you up here.
Oh, there you go. Okay. We recently approved another similar alcohol sales, and there is I guess it's a church or that is located on the, what would have been the backside of this building to the east. Has there been any concerns from this organization?
I have not heard anything from them.
I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
All right, anything else from the commission? Eric Hikas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just out of curiosity, what was the last restaurant that was there? What was the name of the last restaurant tenant? Just for my...
Curry Masala? Was Curry Masala in there?
No, next door.
I don't remember.
I hate to say it, I'm kind of betting it's been a while because
right.
Haggerty's was in there before the church. But
Okay.
we probably don't need to get into that
That's
debate.
okay. Just curious. Thanks.
All right, anything else from the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Great. Vince made the motion to approve this conditional use permit. With stipulations. Sorry. Thanks, Mike. All right. Mike Goller is going to second the motion that he helped us with. Any discussion on the motion to approve with stipulations? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Item number 10.
All right, item number 10 is an ordinance amendment amending area regulations in several sections of the code. The purpose of this ordinance amendment is to clarify a side yard setback regulation that currently exists within the residential zoning districts, and also remove a few unnecessary references that we found within those affected chapters of the code. So the major primary part of this is that a part of the side yard setback regulations in the residential zoning district states in part that when a structure is determined to be 1 story for a minimum distance of 12 feet from the side wall, an 8-foot wide side yard shall be allowed. Essentially what that means is that if you have a building that is in part 1 story and then it goes to a 2-story building, that 1-story portion, as long as it's 12 feet long, can be 8 feet from the side yard. So essentially what you're doing is you're creating a 20-foot setback from the property line to the 2-story portion. However, that's very unclear as the way that it reads right now. So this ordinance amendment is going to clarify that language so that it very clearly states that a one-story portion can have an 8-foot as long as the two-story portion has a 20-foot setback. So that is just making that very clear. The intent of that regulation is to promote fire safety by providing separation between the levels of the dwelling and also increasing the separation between the taller portion of a dwelling and neighboring properties. So this will clarify that, make it so that it's more easily understood by the public, and also so that we can more accurately apply this regulation and ensure that we are running it across the board. So also within the chapters being amended, we did identify an unnecessary and incorrect reference in a couple of the sections where a front yard setback is indicated within the side yard setback regulations. Since there's a front yard section that's separate, it does not need to be within the side yard requirements as well, so we're taking that out. And then there was also an unnecessary reference to a height requirement in the front yard setback requirements. There again, the height is dictated in a completely separate section, so it doesn't need to be referenced within the setback, the front yard setback section. So just cleaning up a few of those things as well. These proposed amendments and alterations do not affect the intent or purpose of the affected sections, and they'll provide further consistency, clarity, and cleanup within the code. So the Development Review Team and staff is recommending approval of this ordinance to amend these area regulations.
All right, Eric Hikas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This one is reminiscent of a lot of design questions we've had over the past with, you've got a one-story walk-in with a lower level basement walkout. At what point on the threshold of the boundary between midpoint of the building, or what point of the building does the actual two-story occur? And then the terracing of landscape kind of dictates that. So that was always a little bit blurry in the past, and I think this really clears it up. Kudos. Yeah. So.
Vince?
I was wondering how you were going to explain that, and I think you did an excellent job.
All right, any other comments on this proposed ordinance change?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, Vince made the motion to approve. And, oh, all right. All right, Alicia's seconding today. Great. Any discussion on the motion to approve? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that's the end of our regular agenda today. Any staff items, discussion items? All right. Sounds good. Look for a motion to adjourn. Karen made the motion to adjourn. All right, Alicia seconded it. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye.